Hull City have a good transfer window? Hello there and welcome back to the HullCityFanCentral YouTube channel, where today I'll be going through all of Hull City's transfer business as we are now out of the January transfer window. Deadline day has come and been, and now we progress on with the rest of the season. 8 players came in and there was a few departures on the way. Not as many departures as many would have predicted, including myself. Hull City do have quite a big squad at the moment. We expect the summer to be a trimming the fat kind of summer, but of course at the moment we have the squad depth, we have the players to get us away from this relegation battle. Of course, a week and 1 day from today we will play Burnley at Turf Moor. We're currently 2 points above the drop, so it's a very testing time for Hull City, but if anyone can do it, it's these batch of players. Of course, I'll just quickly run through who we signed and I'll go into a bit more detail on them, and then of course I'll round out the video by some departures. Of course, there was a few departures yesterday on deadline day. So of course Hull City signed Lincoln Henrique, John Egan, of course being the deadline day acquisition, Norden Ambat, Kyle Joseph, Louis Barry, Matt Crooks, Elliot Matazo and Joe Geldhart. Out of those selected, of course, Lincoln Henrique being alone, Louis Barry being alone, and Joe Geldhart being alone, but the rest of them all permanents, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. Of course, we will go into them right now. So let's start off with John Egan. I didn't do a video on John Egan yesterday as I was having a bit of a chaotic day getting things sorted and out doing bits. Hull City are delighted to announce the signing of experienced defender John Egan from Sky Bet Championship rivals Burnley for an undisclosed fee. The 32-year-old Republic of Ireland international has penned an 18-month deal with a club option of a further year, becoming the Tigers' 8th acquisition of the winter transfer window. And lately, it was announced that this is the final one. Of course, Hull City did not acquire anyone else before the 11 PM deadline. The Cork-born centre-back, who featured 8 times for the Clarets after joining last September, has racked up over 400 career appearances, including 210 in the Championship and 73 in the Premier League. Of course, very experienced player, of course, known for his time as well over at Sheffield United. I won't dive too much into what Hull City have said in their article about the signing of John Egan, as this video is more of a quick fire recap of the transfer window, and hopefully I'll determine whether Hull City have made their good acquisitions this January or whether there was a little bit left to be desired of. But John Egan, fairly decent. Of course, Hull City were on the chase for an extra defender this entire January transfer window, weren't they? With Charlie Hughes currently being out injured, there was the room there for another defender to come in, and the possibility of it being somewhat of a fullback was there. Of course, John Egan coming in as a centre half. That's not the end of the world. Of course, we have seen all of a sudden that Sean McLaughlin can play at left back. We know Matty Jacob can play a convincing left back role. And of course, we do have Louis Coyle and Cody Drammer, who both played that position at points this season, respectively. So John Egan comes in to fill out that centre half position. Of course, Charlie Hughes will be back soon. And then off the back of this, Hull City, of course, did transfer out a few players. Of course, Finlay Burns is still in the ranks. Alfie Jones. So Hull City do have a very strong defensive line, and to have the experience of a John Egan who can still play. Of course, he's not one of these granddads who can't play, just here for the experience. No, he can still play. He's been playing for quite a stretch of time, but also to provide some experience for that for quite a few of the younger players in the defensive line. Of course, you're looking at maybe Charlie Hughes or Matty Jacob. Of course, Cody Drammer probably on the younger edge of the defensive line. So to come in and bolster that up could really solidify this defensive performance, especially considering we come to face his former club 1 week tomorrow. As I said, we play Burnley, and of course we did just transfer him from Burnley. He didn't really seem to get into the ranks there, so I'm not 100% sure if he'll be sort of that match fit readiness to either start or come off the bench against Burnley. Of course, Burnley are very defensively strong side in themselves, so John Egan not having too much games this season. But hopefully in his 1.5 year deal that he's got with Hull City, hopefully we can give him a little stretch of game time and and see what he can provide, not only for himself, but also to his teammates around him. So that's John Egan. Of course, Lincoln Enrique, we did sign on loan from Fenerbahce. He hasn't actually played for Hull City, although he's been signed for, I want to say, about a week or so now. He signed prior to the Sheffield United game, so didn't play in the Sheffield United game, therefore also didn't play last time out against Stoke City. Of course, a little bit of match fit unsureness around him seems to be the general consensus at the moment. Lincoln Enrique does come in as that sort of backup option through the middle. He is someone that you can maybe come to off the bench. He is more of that covered role. He's mainly come here for the fact that he could possibly get more game time here than he could at Fenerbahce. Of course, he's coming off a loan out from them at Bragantino. So Lincoln Enrique, certainly a player to have in this squad. Will he be the difference maker for Hull City this season? I don't think so. I'm happy to be proven wrong though. But Lincoln Enrique does come into the squad, does bolster the squad in some sort of capacity. Nordin Amrabat. Now, many people at the time were slating this transfer deal, saying that it wasn't a good one. Why are we getting such an old player in? But Nordin Amrabat, on his debut, proved to them doubters why he is in this City squad. Of course, coming on and shoring up that 1-0 victory away at Millwall on his debut, and since then has really provided in different aspects whenever he's been relied on for City. He seems to be that sort of player that you go to in the last 10 minutes and he can be that difference maker for your squad. I don't think he was necessarily utilised the best against Stoke City. I said this when he came on, I was like, he's on the wing. Yeah, not 100% sure about that one. Maybe better acquisitions to pick off the bench for that situation. But Nordin Amrabat does seem like a very, very good player to have in this City squad, especially when you consider the fact that we've lost so many games this season and last, in them last sort of 10 minutes. To have someone to come up to really shore up the defence, but also maybe provide something going forwards, and also be a nuisance for the opposition side, that is something that you really want, especially moving into them last 10 minutes of a game. So Nordin Amrabat, a definite improvement for this City squad. Now, Kyle Joseph, I think Kyle Joseph, when all things said and done, at the end of the season, or maybe even towards the end of his contract with Hull City, fans are going to go down for, like, that was a transfer that went a bit under the radar for City. Of course, Kyle Joseph, known for his time over at Blackpool, of course, under management by former Tigers manager Steve Bruce there. But Kyle Joseph, from what I've seen so far, what he said in his opening press conference seems to actually come true. He gives 110% every game, and doesn't really let up. I think he's more of a starting man than the substitute appearance that he had off the bench against Stoke City. A really good aspect of this was when you saw it against Sheffield United. He caused so much pain for the Sheffield United defence that they were then also worn down so early on in the match that when João Pedro came on later on, he could still provide something quality there. So that's definitely the partnership that I want to see it go around in that aspect, with the Kyle Joseph start and then a João Pedro off the bench or something in that sort of capacity. But Kyle Joseph, I think, is going to be one of these ones where the actual signing went a little bit under the radar, as fans, I think, are going to quickly fall in love with him, especially considering that he is with Hull City for quite a period of time. I believe about 3 years. Or 3.5 years. So certainly a very, very good deal there. And remember, he's only young as well. Quite a few of these players that we brought in are quite young. And Kyle Joseph is certainly one that has got a lot to prove. And he seems happy to be here. Everything seems good around this transfer. I think it's a very, very good one, this Kyle Joseph one. Now, moving from one good transfer to an even better transfer. I mean, how did Hull City sign Louis Barry? I mean, we've only seen him contribute with about 15 minutes worth of playtime for Hull City. But even in that short spell, he was providing so much for City. He managed to gain us about 3 different corners, a few different opportunities. I mean, his crosses are something to behold on that left-hand side. He's truly a fantastic football player. And to have him on loan for the remainder of this season, with the talks already opening up between Hull City and Aston Villa about getting Louis Barry back in next season, now things just do look good on all platforms for Louis Barry. I don't think there is necessarily a word bad to be said about this deal for Hull City. So Louis Barry, fantastic acquisition for Hull City, and one that he's going to be a real problem maker for the rest of the season for Hull City in the Championship. Now, Matt Crooks, he's another one of these transfers where a few people at the time were going, oh, I'm not 100% sure about that one. From what I heard from Middlesbrough fans, of course, playing for them before I went over to the States, he seemed like a cracking player that sort of, it was a bit strange that no other team really fully went in for other than us. Matt Crooks, of course, providing a goal already for City, and in his performances has done exactly what it pretty much said on the tin. He is a tall man, nicknamed the Tree for a reason, can work well with his feet. He's a perfect player to have through that middle, and he also provides 2 different aspects where you can either start him like we saw against Sheffield United, or you can have him come off the bench and he can still provide something coming off the bench. First signing for Hull City, and starting in a really good way this January transfer window with Matt Crooks coming in, so fantastic deal. And now Elliot Matazo is going to be someone that I feel in about 2-3 years time, he's going to be another one of these players where you go, oh yeah, he played for Hull City, didn't he? And now he's going on to do wonders. He's got such a young pedigree about him, also providing a goal for City so far in his full debut for the Tigers. And he's been absolutely fantastic in the 2 appearances that we've seen him in. He's going to be going down as one of these players where it comes in a few years' time where he signs a big contract at one of the big sides, either in the Prem, the La Liga, or something like that. He's going to have a big future about him. And then when all things are said and done, when he does wonders for Belgium internationally and stuff like that, the commentators will go, oh, and your little side note, he played for Hull City, a little bit like a Jared Bowen, someone like that. So a fantastic acquisition that. And another one, a little bit similar to the Matt Crooks one, where it's a bit weird that no one else went in for these ones as fully as Hull City did. Very, very interesting. Now, Joe Gildart, loan deal from Leeds United, of course. That comes on a bit of a touchy subject, but Joe Gildart has provided fantastically for City. I mean, if he can't get a game time at Leeds United, we'll happily take it, because he's been brilliant ever since he signed. He's not had 110% worth of games under his belt so far, but the moments we've seen him in, they haven't been too bad, have they? Joe Gildart, a good acquisition for Hull City. Now let's go into the departures. Of course, 8 brilliant signings for City. We'll go over the 2 loan departures that have left the club. Of course, Carl Rushworth is now the backup keeper at Brighton. That one was pretty much just down to Brighton having their backup keeper go down injured, or one of their goalkeepers go down injured, and so they needed Rushworth to come back as a second choice. And can't really complain. Ivo Panda's getting his game time back, and credit to the man, he's fantastic. So Ivo Panda needs it, and obviously giving Lotutal that the bench option as a keeper as well. The other player that had his loan terminated was a deadline day one in Chris Bedia, and as one was working on a long time, wasn't it, Chris Bedia, to have his loan terminated and move on. I think he's gone to Young Boys on a loan deal from Bayer Leverkusen, I want to say. Somewhere in Germany, he's gone on a loan to Young Boys. Really didn't seem to crack, did it, for Chris Bedia, and the depth that we now have in the attacking options really can afford us to say goodbye to Chris Bedia, as we don't need him. He wouldn't get any game time, and that was the plan laid out at the start of the January transfer window, and it's fully come through fruition. And now I'll quickly rack through the loan outs. Now some of these are first teamers that have been loaned out, presumably just to get them out and keep them happy and then have the option for them to leave elsewhere. I believe all of the senior team loan outs, bar some of like the younger ones, so I'm talking about Ryan Giles, Anthony Rascioppi and Marvin Malem, they've all got the option to buy with their club. So Anthony Rascioppi's over at FC Colm, Ryan Giles, he's over at Middlesbrough, and if you saw the own goal last night, certainly something to behold. He's Middlesbrough's saving grace, and Ryan Giles can stay that way. He's got the loan with the option to buy for them. And Marvin Malem over at Paderborn. He's not been doing too bad over at Paderborn, actually. I believe he contributed with either a goal or assist and being playing quite nicely in all of the games that he's played for them so far. So it seems certainly that Marvin is that player that's so rooted to German football and how to play in Germany that it just wasn't going to work out in England, was it? So best of luck to him, and it presumably seems like he will not be back in a City shirt. So two players that went out on deadline day on loan. Xavier Simons, of course, he's over at Wycombe Wanderers for the rest of the season on loan. Hopefully he can get some game time in there. He's got a cracking pedigree about him. I just wish that Hull City's depth in his position wasn't so extensive. I mean, I say that with a pinch of my tongue, as I'm not really fuming that we have so many good options through the middle. But Xavier Simons, he really isn't going to get a look in this City squad, is he? He is going to be a case of now where City are out there shopping him on loan to see what clubs will be willing to pay for him, depending on what he does over at Wycombe. So best of luck to him. Of course, I could be wrong on that one, and he could come back and be a mainstay in the City squad for the seasons to come. Andy Smith, of course, going out on loan following the signing of Egan from Burnley. Of course, a loan deal over at Gillingham. Go and get him some game time. Of course, Andy Smith, no stranger to a loan out from City to various different clubs. We wish him all the best there. Of course, young defender, can't go too wrong with him. And then the rest of the loan outs, of course, James Furlong and Callum Jones, well, they've been out for the rest of the season. So permanent transfers out. Of course, we said goodbye to Ryan Longman this January. Of course, he's gone to Wrexham on a permanent deal, about 500k. That one got Hull City, so not too badly there. I believe he's also produced an assist on his second game for them, producing the win. So best of luck to him. Of course, we could face him next season, as Wrexham are looking to get promoted from League One to the Championship. And that's, of course, if Hull City have managed to avoid the drop. Of course, if we get the drop, we could still face them there. But there's quite a few academy players also going out on loan, some of the younger lads, but I won't fully go into them ones, of course. We'll dive into them more at a later date. I don't think it's really one to fully dive into. But other than that, no other departures that I can think off the top of my head. And all in all, a good transfer window for Hull City. I've got to say, at the start of the transfer window, you saw Hull City throwing out numbers of like 8, 9 signings they want to complete, and you was thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be 8 or 9 little players that aren't really going to produce anything for Hull City in the long term. But all in all, a good transfer window. I put this up there with the likes of last season's January transfer window. Maybe even better just for the fact of the quantity and the quality that we have brought into the squad, and also not being afraid to let go and see out some players that have been in the squad for a little bit of time, like a Ryan Longman, like a Giles gone out on loan. Certainly seems like a new wave of City. And I think Ruben Sayers has managed this transfer window absolutely fantastically. Just hoping that all things can come together for City. And really have that second half of the season that we so desperately need and want to work us away from the drop, get us into that mid-table security, and then next season really progress on. Another fantastic thing about this transfer window was that a lot of the transfers were permanent. We do have a great foundation of this squad, which means in the summer it's not Sayers' job to rebuild this squad, only to enhance it. So fantastic January transfer window. Let me know your thoughts down in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up to date on everything Hull City. Of course, it's a pressing final few months for City in this season, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that, and I'll see you in the next video. Up the Tigers!